everyone. I want to welcome you. Today is Thursday, May 27th, 2021. We give it just a moment for the signal to go out, the notifications to go out, and the listeners to tune in. And while we're waiting, just a bit of an introduction. This is Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer, coming to you live from a very nice, sunny springtime afternoon in Southern California. My contact information is PO Box 4121, Fullerton, California 92834. Once again, PO Box 4121, Fullerton, California 92834. On the web at joeimbriano777@gmail.com, thefullertoninformer.com, wifidangers.com, faxdangers.com, celltowerdangers.com, nasafraud.com, disney666.com, cern666.com, hollywood666.com. You know, folks, last night I had I want to call it a privilege, but I would rather call it the horrific experience of watching a high school graduation ceremony in the city of Fullerton. And, you know, it was the normal Masonic ritual with the head of the whole thing wearing a robe, and all the children were dressed in red robes. But every single one of these students in red robes had masks on, except for one person in the entire student body. And that was my son. That's right, folks. Every single student that walked up and got their diploma at the graduation ceremony had a mask on, except for one person. Out of the hundreds of students, my son was the only one to not wear a mask while he was sitting down, while he was waiting in line to walk up, when his name was called, when he walked across the stage. And when he walked off the stage, he continued to stand up in defiance with his mask off. And he kept it off. Because it's all fraud, folks. The superintendent had a mask on, but yet he shook 500 students' hands. That's right. The superintendent was handing out the diplomas, but he had a mask on, but he shook 500 children's hands last night. My son brought that up to me, and he said, "Dad, this whole thing doesn't make any sense." One of the best presents you can ever get in your life is when you get to know Jesus Christ. Well, that is the best gift of all. Now, one of the other incredible gifts that you can receive in life is finding love, finding a partner to spend the rest of your life with. Another gift that you can be bequeathed with, Almighty God, is the gift of children and marriage. And you know, folks, one of the most amazing gifts is after you spend 18 years raising your child, they turn out to be woke, right? Yeah, well, you know, there's nothing like having woke children, folks. There's nothing like having woke children that know what's up, right? So, you know, this horror show last night in Fullerton, it was quite the fiasco. You know, we were fenced in this prison structure called the Stadium. I went by earlier in the day, and all the Wi-Fi prisoners inside the sheet metal walls at Troy High School were graduating, and they were doing temperature scans. Everybody had masks on. You know, they're all being good slaves. You know, letting them put that thing on their forehead. You know, aiming at God knows what that thing does to your pineal gland, right? Right between the eyes, right? Hey, where did David hit Goliath, folks? Where did David hit Goliath? What are they doing to you, sticking something right between your eyes? Oh, gosh. So anyway, I wanted to talk to you about how some of you are so proud of your graduate, right? Well, look, I'm proud of my son because he's rejected everything he was taught. He knows that he was fed a bunch of garbage, and he had to answer the questions to pass the test. But, you know, the nice thing about the last semester in this whole ordeal is that, you know, it's done, right? So he was just whatever. But the point is you as parents, you have two choices. You can raise a slave that's going to be a slave to the system, as well as someone who is enforcing the system. Okay? You can raise a child to be part of this system, or you can tell them the truth that this system of education has been in place for 150 years to brainwash children so they will do what they're told and submit and yield their bodies, their sovereignty, their minds, their physical being, their psychological being, and even their souls up to Satan, folks. Because the one thing that was missing last night from this freak show, aside from, you know, the principal speaking about how get all you can from this country in Spanish to those in Spanish that were attending, and the speech in English was completely different about how she's going to miss all the students. But the one she gave in Spanish was about all the freebies and how to take advantage of everything this country has to offer. And those literally were her words, paraphrased, right? Amazing. But the whole educational system is designed, ladies and gentlemen, to make your child a slave and a sheep for slaughter. Now, if you want to push them really hard, you can give them a real kick in the butt and send them off in the fall to get vaccinated, to get injected with stuff, to have these swabs stuck up their nose, way up inside their heads, folks. And you think this is all important and necessary, right? Well, let me tell you something right now, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone has their price. And what's the price for your children? Do you really think all this status is going to mean anything in a few years? Did you see what they just did to us? Did you see what they did to everybody? Do you know what they're going to do to your child in the fall in one of these brainwash institutions of higher learning? I'll tell you what they're going to do. They're going to stick a mask on them. They're going to have weaponized air conditioning systems in the classrooms. They're going to have weaponized Wi-Fi systems in the classrooms. They're going to have wireless devices that are weaponized in the classrooms. They're going to have masks on in the classrooms. They're going to have COVID tests shoved up their nose and possibly even shoved up their anus. And they're going to get the COVID vaccines, folks. All the while, they're going to be taught the lies. The lies of history. That's right. They call it history because it's his story, right? It ain't true what they're taught. I could go on and on about all these magnificent structures that our ancestors built. All of the free energy harvesting domes and spires and all these magnificent buildings that had doors that were 20 feet tall. For people that were also alive at some point that were destroyed and exterminated, as well as their history being erased from us. That's right, folks. You'll never hear about the mud floods and the Tartarian Empire and the Tartarian architecture. Oh no, it's like a QAnon conspiracy, they say, right? Everything they don't want you to talk about is either hate speech or conspiracy stuff, right? That's okay. They don't want things, right? They only want us to talk about what they want us to know about. You start discussing things like free energy and, you know, atmospheric electricity generation. You know, forget the fact that Tesla had it all down, right? But think about this, folks. Think about the history of what was already in this country before we got here, and it had nothing to do with what you were told, folks. The United States had advanced civilizations in it. There were all kinds of advanced weaponry systems that existed then that still exist today. They don't tell you about. You can see what happened on 9/11 if you want to know about resonant frequency weapons. All right, folks, they tell you that the Earth is a spinning ball in school for, what, 13 years? K through 12, you've got to learn about the spinning ball Earth, right? Why is it that they push the spinning ball Earth, folks? Why is it? Well, I'll tell you why they push it, ladies and gentlemen. For 3 reasons. Because it's a great way to hide God, all right? It's a great way to hide the existence of God. Because if they can convince you that you're living on a spinning ball that coalesced out of a condensation of hot plasma and organic and inorganic compounds from some sort of explosion that was caused by God knows what, right? And you believe that all this stuff came into being out of evolving from this cosmic explosion. And given the baloney of statistics and math and all this theoretical science and crap they teach you, you'll believe that eventually a rock can turn into a 747 given it enough time, right? And they oversimplify the biology of the cell. They teach you fraudulent physics. They teach you theoretical mathematics. They teach you all kinds of theoretical applications of everything. And you sit in a room and look at a screen and you're supposed to believe everything on it, right? Well, I got news for you folks. That isn't the way it works, okay? And the reality that we live in is not the one on the screens. They're hiding all the water under the ground, folks. They're hiding God. They hide God because God created a closed system in which we live. And there is water above us. Just watch the next time they launch these SpaceX rockets, and you can watch the rocket attempt to pierce the water, folks. And you can see the water spraying off the tip of the rocket. It's not very difficult to see what goes on when they shoot something up there. First of all, it always goes up and then hangs a left or a right. It goes at an angle because they're trying to get through the water, get through the firmament up there. They can't do it. But the bottom line is, folks, everywhere on the face of this earth, if you dig deep enough, there is an endless supply of water. Because water is in immense, infinite supply around. And part of this whole climate change hoax and the hydrologic cycle that they teach you, that the water comes from evaporation and snowfall and snowmelt and snowpack and river runoff, is part of the con to control us so we can't live freely and dig in the ground and have endless supplies of water. They want us tapping the etheric energy, the electricity in the atmosphere. They don't want us tapping the ether for all of the energy. We could have free electricity everywhere, folks. That's why they got wires and copper and everything else. They're controlling the flow of electricity. They're controlling the supply of water. You can't drill down into the primary water. They don't allow you to. They tell you that we have aquifers. Folks, when they empty an aquifer, it fills back up. Come on! They teach these students for 13 years about how the carbon dioxide, which is tree food's changing the weather. They don't teach the children about the weather control machines. They teach them about what the greenhouse effect, about climate change, about carbon emissions. And when they teach them about carbon emissions, what do? Well, let me give you a real quick rundown of why this is such a problem. First of all, carbon dioxide is plant food. First of all, carbon dioxide is plant food, folks. Animals breathe out carbon dioxide. Animals belch methane when they're turning grass into prime rib. You and I breathe out carbon dioxide and release methane when we eat legumes and pass gas, whatever, folks. Here's the problem. They want us in a net zero carbon situation very soon, which means they're going to declare war on fire, declare war on burning natural gas, declare war on gasoline, declare war on renewable energy such as natural gas. And even petroleum is renewable energy because the earth constantly produces it, right? But they want you to believe it's fossil fuel. How in the world did a dinosaur climb 25,000 feet below the surface of the ocean and then go down another 20,000 feet below the floor of the ocean and curl up in a ball and turn into an Exxon pool of oil? Come on! Come on! Seriously, folks. How is it that, all these dinosaurs got to the bottom of the ocean and dug a hole 20,000 feet below the bottom of the ocean and crawled in there and turned into oil? Folks, these oil wells run dry and they fill back up. Ask anybody who's in the petroleum industry about that. They'll tell you. They don't want you breathing. Right now they're telling you, we got to eliminate certain things. You can't have gasoline. We got to have hybrids. Pretty soon you got to have electric cars. You can't burn coal. You can't burn fire. It's okay in India to burn bodies for this fake virus, right? But no. Oh, no, not here, folks. Listen to me. If you're of your child graduating, I have to tell you, I am too, because to be honest with you, I don't know how they make it through all this brainwashing. That it's really been ramped up with Common Core. Fortunately, for my children, they're taught the truth, and they know that they've got to learn the lies to get through the doorways in life. But they know that there's another side to everything that they don't want you to know about. And shame on Dr. Scott Scambray, whatever his name is, the superintendent. And I think her name was Laura Rubio. I think she's married to that police officer in Fullerton that testified in the Kelly Thomas murder trial that no policies were violated. I think she's married to the chief training officer who testified under oath that no policies were violated when Kelly Thomas was murdered by the police department. On camera. Anyway, she opened up the ceremony and nobody said a prayer. There was no benediction over these children. I guess they're not allowed to even contact their Masonic god Lucifer in this Masonic ceremony. That's right, folks. There was no prayer at the graduation last night. I guess all these masked parents and all these masked students are done with God, right? Well, of course they are, because what are they taught the whole time they're in school? Evolution! All these lies about how, a cell is this thing with a nucleus and a protoplasm and a cytoplasm and a mitochondria and a couple of organelles in the cell wall. And that's pretty much it, right? Wrong. A cell is more complicated than the infrastructure of New York City. That's how incredible our God is. That the building block of life is so complex, we can't even understand it. They make attempts to understand it, but they oversimplify it to act like they have authority and understanding over what we are and where we live and living systems, so they can manipulate our thought process to accepting any form of action they deem necessary at their whim that is to their advantage and to our detriment 100% of the time, folks. As they declare war on God, they tell us that everything evolved from an explosion, that complex life forms evolved from random combinations of events over an infinite amount of time. And the last time I went to a junkyard, I never found a assembled 747 after a tornado. But I will tell you this, if you talk to one of these scientists, they're going to tell you that you should find a Rolex and an ocean liner and an Abba Zaba on the surface of the moon by now. Because all of those things should have self-assembled on their own, given the laws of physics that we're taught, given the laws of probability that we're told about, and ignoring the fact that the state of the universe is a state of disorder, and quantified by something called entropy, right? The natural state of things in the universe that we live in is one of disorder. Just talk to your children about their room. Just talk to your husband about how he hasn't cut the grass and cleaned up the garage. The place becomes a mess, and it looks like no one's been back there for 1,000 years when you let it go for 6 months, right? Folks, the educational system is a total abject fraud, and if you want to push your children into more Adderall, into more vaccines, into more swabs up their nose, into their brainstem, up their backside, into their intestine, be my guest. If I were you, I would teach your children the truth at all costs and teach them a trade at all costs so that they don't end up paying the ultimate cost for something that has absolutely no value in the very near future. Did you wonder why the colleges have done away with the SAT for entrance? Because they're going to take anybody with a pulse and a bank account at this point. They're done building the prison. They are done recruiting and training the weaponized agents of medicine and law and science. They've already got enough weaponized idiots. They've developed the biological weapons that they've aimed at us. They've developed the weaponized idiots in law and medicine to turn on us and to roll out this medical tyranny. They've developed all of the electromagnetic weapons with all of these weaponized idiot scientists. They've taken these 180 IQ students from abroad, given them 10 years of bed and breakfast and free tuition and spending accounts, put them in think tanks, and turned them loose in cubicles to make the weapons that are now being aimed at us. Radio frequency weapons, wireless devices, cell towers, 5G antenna arrays, millimeter wave antenna arrays, phased array beamforming systems. They're all being installed. They're inside your television sets. Do you know they can put a millimeter phased array flat screen antenna inside a screen? They can put it inside wallpaper. They've put the weaponized air conditioning systems in everywhere, folks. Think about it. Think about what you're sending your children back into. Weaponized classrooms. Cold plasma reactive oxygen species generating system. Bipolar ionization air conditioning ventilation systems. In the classrooms, in the libraries, in the lecture halls, in the gymnasiums. And if you want to put your children in sports, go ahead and have them wear a mask. Have them take the vaccines. Have them breathe the chlorine. Have them soak and immerse themselves in the high levels of chlorine and bromine and sodium hypochlorite and all of these compounds in the swimming pools while they're playing in their water sports, right? While they're running around busting their joints apart in football, while they're tearing their ligaments to kingdom come in baseball. For what? For cardboard cutouts the next time around when they roll out round 2 of this? Will you wake up? Look what they've done. They don't want you to believe in God, so they tell you you're living on a spinning ball. Ask any airline pilot that's objective what he's using to determine what the horizon is. It's a mechanical gimbal, folks. It's flat. The reason they tell us it's a ball is to hide God so they can con us into evolution. The truth is it's flat. There's immense amounts of water under the ground. There's a roof on top of us. And God put it there, and he put us in here. And he is the one who made everything. And they are hiding him because they want you to be afraid to die so you'll do what you're told and be a good slave. They want you to believe in outer space. They want you to believe in NASA so you'll believe in aliens, so you'll believe in a foreign virus from outer space, so they can use all this electromagnetic weaponry combined with the vaccines and the meds to get us and start taking people out, and they'll blame the alien virus. It's all a fraud, folks. And the schools are the entire apparatus by which it's codified, enforced, and taught and drilled into the children. And the media picks up once they're out of school. Ladies and gentlemen, please, in Jesus' name, wake up. Think about it. They're going to fake an alien invasion. They're going to blame the cyber attack on aliens. They're going to blame the plasma event on aliens, folks. They've got everything up their sleeve. Everything they're teaching your children is a total lie. Listen, folks, they've put in these weaponized air conditioning systems that will destroy your lung capacity. And I can't breathe is going to become the mantra when they turn on these weaponized millimeter wave delivery oxygen depriving systems combined with the current technology for cellular infrastructure that's already making people anemic. And then you compound that with what's in the vaccines that's going to mess up the liver and the red blood cell production and the B12 production, along with all these meds they're prescribing, telling us how wonderful all this stuff is, that's going to mess up your red blood cell production and your B12 production and ultimately your ability to bind oxygen as they beamform the 60 gigahertz, bounced off all the plexiglass everywhere, right to your AirPods that put a 12 centimeter P-cell beamformed locked onto your nose and mouth. And they're going to tell you that it's a virus from outer space. Thank you, school district. Thank you for kicking out God. Thank you for lying to our children. Thank you for taking our tax money. Thank you for turning all the children into Marxist ideologues. Even my son's all, Dad, I'm done with this Marxist communist garbage, because that's what it is. And it's sad, folks, because some of you think that the success of your children lies in how much of this brainwashing they can tolerate and regurgitate. And their GPA is based on how well and how easily and how effectively they've been brainwashed, not how smart they are. The higher your GPA equals the stupider that you are, okay? The more you believe these lies and the more effectively you can retain and regurgitate them is indicative of how dangerous you can be to a free society. By becoming sponges and springboards of Marxist eugenics indoctrination, atheistic, God-hating, psychopathic, medical tyrannical nut job indoctrination, folks. Unbelievable, right? Try to tell one of these 4.7 students anything, what do? Oh, you have a tinfoil hat. Oh, you are a conspiracy theorist. Let me tell you something, folks. 2020's got the lowest birth rate in United States history. And it ain't because people ain't shacking up. It's because all the Wi-Fi and all the wireless devices in the laps of the children have damaged the eggs of these girls. And woe to you who pushed for the installation of these weaponized systems, right, in the classrooms. Especially those in my community. May God have mercy on you and your family for what you have done to these children. Forcing children to be placed in microwave chambers, and worst of all, Troy High School in Fullerton, sheet metal walls. And they had to put these access points practically in every room because they couldn't get the Wi-Fi to go through the walls. You got children in literal microwave ovens. And they've upgraded with the 5G chips and those things that can be remote controlled. Look up the video, the most important video in the world by Joe Imbriano, and it shows what they did with the electromagnetic weapons in these schools. Okay, how the students couldn't catch their breath, how the principal and the secretary passed out and were taken to the hospital, how some students were paralyzed and couldn't walk. You want to go along with all this? Be my guest. You know what they say, a fool and his money shall soon part? Well, I got another one for you, folks. A fool and his offspring shall be no more. All right? They got plans, folks. You better wake up. This is Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer, P.O. Box 4121, Fullerton, California, 92834. By the way, I want to thank all of you out there who continue to email me and contact me. And a really heartfelt special thanks to Pamela and your husband. You guys are unbelievable people. And honestly, I'm still speechless, okay? That's all I can say to you guys. And there's a special place in heaven for the type of people that you are. That's all I can say. Anyway, folks, all we can do is warn everyone. And, you know, folks, you can congratulate your children on getting through the brainwashing, but what you need to do is make sure that you don't trade their health and their mind for... There is no future systems, folks. These systems are predatory. They're going to destroy us. Don't let your children be part of it. Don't let your children help continue to erect it and to hold it up. Don't let your children promote it. Don't let your children take part in it. Teach your children to expose it, folks. WiFiDangers.com, folks. If you want to know what the school district has done to the children's ability to have children, going back, I believe, 8 years. I've had that site going for 8 years. I've been trying to get these people to stop putting this weaponry in the classrooms. 8 years ago, now these children are no longer children. They're of childbearing age. They're out of college, and they can't get pregnant because of the microwave attack on the reproductive organs, specifically the girls' eggs, folks. If you go to WiFiDangers.com, it's all spelled out, including the players, by the way. I had put the faces of all those involved in my community in taking part in this. This is Joe Imbriano coming to you in the name of Jesus Christ, wishing blessings, protection, and victory in Jesus' name. Take care, ladies and gentlemen.